wasn't that cool, huh? To hear from two professionals. For those who haven't caught this yet, great question about what do you think about the pets in a prison program? And to hear two professionals that have been deeply in the industry, right? These are, in both cases, these aren't a couple of prison guards. One rose through the ranks all the way to be a warden, and the other not only booked an entire career and then retired in the feds, but had worked both state and federal, and also is a union rep for the guys. So this is a dude that really gets it, Oh, my Hokey, how are you? Enjoyed STS yesterday, and your appearance was frustrated the last time you were on because one of the guests liked to hear himself talk a bit too much at the expense of contributions from you and others. It would have been not the last time, but oh no, it might have been. Yeah, no, you're right. It might have been the last time. I take that back. I know exactly what you're talking about. Yesterday was fun, and the coolest thing about that is, even after we went off the air, we all hung out for a little while, which doesn't happen often. Usually, you just shut the thing and we're done, But it was really different. That there really is a fraternity kind of a thing between guards and inmates. It's like when you see soldiers from two different wars. I mean, from two different sides of a war. You see, Germans and Americans from World War II, or Japanese and Americans from World War II, who get together, and they have more in common than they have that separates them. They really do. So it was funny. We were cracking jokes before and afterwards because Joel obviously the three of us could have had a conversation and left Joel just wondering what was going on, because there really is a completely different language. And you want to hear something funny? Okay. Every once in a while, like you have an opportunity to sit there and figure, you know what? I really feel like I'm more prepared for this show than others. I read his book. That's a book I actually read. So it was, and I thought it was way more fun to not say, hey, I read that book, because it was just a lot more fun. I knew he was talking about Gene. I knew the program he was talking about. The really sad thing is this: I could have been one of the people that went down and worked with those kids. What they did was they took older guys, and if you were above the age of 30, right, you had an opportunity to get more good time credits added, so that it's basically more time off your sentence. Not a lot, but it was an opportunity to go. But as they were pitching it, it sounded awful. Right? They're sending over all of these guys who are in their 30s and 40s and 50s, right? Because all of these kids who are 17, 18, and 19 are killing each other, stabbing each other, beating each other up. I thought, that doesn't sound like a really good time. That just sounds like a lot of kids fighting all the time. I didn't want any part of it. But I was actually in there in both cases. I was in their systems while they were working. So it was a unique situation. I could say to the guy from Nevada that I had a 9 number, to give him an idea of how telling him what my registration number was, if you didn't catch that in the beginning. But when I said I had a 9 number, he knows, because he was a warden, what years that falls into. So it was my way of saying we were in there at the same time. And the other reference I made to the other cat that I had an 048 was a reference to part of the country that I was incarcerated in as a federal inmate. And yes, it was a cool dynamic, because there was a lot of interplay between me and they were great guests, 2 really, really intelligent guys, good communicators, and I think I could say this. I don't think that this is, I'm telling any secrets. This was not on the air, but after we went off the air, no, you know what? Because he actually he talked about it, I think, a little bit. But when we went off the air, he said, he said, Tommy, I want you to know that one of my best friends is a bank robber. He said, one of my absolute best friends is a bank robber. You know what? Q's mom is stomping her foot right now because I put this question up for real, because this is what Q says all the time. If you look and you check what percentage of people in prison had were without a male role model, it is astounding how often that is the case in this country. I can't speak to the rest of the world, but it's absolutely it's why the title of the book was so perfectly chosen. You know, the because that's he honestly took that concept, you know, right from what they were doing. Was, you know, let's get some older bulls in there, you know, to work with these rowdy youngsters that are breaking stuff, right? It's we certainly need to do a lot in this world regarding that. But once again, people, it comes back to what? Lisa Beam, we're going to have to start over. Any idea how late you are? We're going to let it slide this time, Lisa. But next time. Thank you, Michael J. It was cool to hear a warden from a prison say, "Yeah, one of my best friends is a bank robber." That, you know, there's he understands that people make mistakes, go in and get out, and you know, you can absolutely do it. And honestly, I think what you got, you don't get out and do it. You do it while you're in there. I think it's rare that somebody gets out and then fixes themselves, because usually if you're broken when you get out, you'll be back within a matter of minutes. It doesn't take very long. It's life on the installment program. Yeah. My best friend is a pepperhead. One of them, anyway. One of my best friends. Actually, no. Actually, I don't think I have any except Jack. Yeah, 2 out of 3. 2 out of my 3 best friends are chili heads. Yeah, there's a lot of truth to that. Yeah, I there really is a lot of truth to that. Tampa B, how are you? Today is one of those days. Tampa B is an artist, for those that don't know. And I actually got to visit Tampa B when I was in Florida, and saw the stuff that she's worked on. She does amazing stuff, and it's got to be frustrating when your hands are really giving you trouble as an artist. I am not an artist. I can't paint anything. I can't create anything with my hands. I've never really been that guy. I can repair things. That's something I've always been fairly decent at. But this talking stuff, this communication stuff is what and believe it or not, it was conversations with people from the boat. Tampa be one of them, one of the people that I spoke to about this. You get frustrated when you're not as good at something as you once were, or if it's more difficult, or if you have to change what you do or how you do it. It's sometimes it's enough to make you just walk away from it. And you know what? I think that's a tragedy. I'm so glad I didn't walk away from this. Again, I don't think I'm as good at this as I was 2 years ago. I really don't. I think, you know, you get older. Even if you're just a normal person aging, you get to a point where, you know, it kind of happens. Um, Rachel F, thank you. You know what? I'm glad to hear you say that. Here's the deal. I'm sorry, I know somebody hate it when I say that. It's a Tommy Boy movie reference I've been saying for so long. I am going to be doing I'm going to be doing a series called Sleep with Tommy. And in that series, I am reading or I am speaking, depending on which one you listen to, so that you can fall asleep to the sound of my voice. A lot of people have requested this. In fact, more people have requested this than have requested anything else ever, by about 100 to 1. It's an absolute I promise you this wasn't my idea, but boy, a lot of you asked me to do this. So we're going to be doing a series. In fact, already started doing a series of videos that are 8 hours long. So you will have the opportunity to go over there, and thank you, Fancy Nancy. That's such a kind thing to say. So you'll have an opportunity to go over there and tune in and just don't tell Reese. Reese is the first person I'm telling. What are you kidding? I'm going to say, Reese, guess what? I have a new segment called Sleeping with Tommy. Cup of coffee. If I was able to find some jewelry while I was in New Mexico, I couldn't tell anyone here. You people can't be trusted. You'll go over and tell her. I know you. Where's Hef? That's an excellent question. Where is Hef? She could be working. I started at a very odd time today. So there's a chance that Hef just doesn't know we're live. You know what? You want to hear something really funny? I have actually, I'm doing this. I'm doing this on a very, very limited run. I am doing exactly this. True story. I have already made the first one. I've already made the first one. What I've done is I've taken really, really old watch movements, all over 100 years old, and they're pocket watch movements. And what I do is I convert them into wristwatches. And because of what the size of the pocket watches were back in the day, you wouldn't have wanted to wear something that big on your wrist, but wristwatches today are huge, right? They're massive, and the movements. So yeah, I'm going to be putting out a line. It's going to be a very, very limited line, and it's going to have a lifeboat something on the front. I'm going to do a very limited run, but you know what, Brazy Girl? A bunch of people have told me that either their boyfriends or their husbands or whatever like to fall asleep to my voice. Yeah, I don't think it's a "ooh, I'm in love" thing. I think that there's something about the tonality. See, again, I'm so stupid in some ways. From about the third or fourth show that I did, people started to say, "Oh, dude, you need to do ASMR," right? And instead of saying, I don't know what ASMR is, why don't you tell me what it is? I just waited 3.5 years because every time somebody said it, it very rarely came from a guy. It almost always came from a woman. And I just thought it was like, it was always kind of like said at a time when, I don't know. I thought it was phone sex or something like, honest to God, like that's what I thought it was for a really long time. I just really, really misunderstood what ASMR was. So once I figured it out, I was like, oh, and then I did a little bit of research on it. And the reason that it's not, it's just a tone, right? There's certain, for some people, there's a certain tone or there's a certain sound. Well, not for some people. The theory is for everybody. There is just a certain voice or a certain sound or a certain tone. I'll tell you right now, I've said it out loud 1,000 times. You know who is my ASMR? I mean, there's nothing in the world that will help me fall asleep and do it happier than listening to my friend Trinity show. Absolutely. Trinity's voice knocks me out. If I go and I put on one of her shows from like, that she's done, a couple hours on, and I can listen to her go through a whole show. It's not like she knocks me out, but if I'm trying to get knocked out, her voice is just, there's something about what it does to the brain thing. Hey, spoil that zip zip. JJ Bird says, I'm nervous. I received my first ketamine infusion for PTSD. I hope I'm ready for this. Thankful I have trauma psychiatrist to guide me. I'm still nervous. You know what? You don't need to be nervous. Honestly, you do not. You just made a really solid point. You have people that are going to be guiding you through this. If you said to me, I'm getting some ketamine to treat my PTSD, I would be really freaked out right now. But everyone I know that has done any kind of therapy like this, whether it be for ketamine or whether it be MDMA, psilocybin, I know people that have done all of them at this point. I don't think that there's anybody that is unrepresented on the boat in terms of these kind of drug treatments. But in every case, the people that do it and have a professional team have had a very, very positive experience. And again, follow the rules, right? The people that she's just chewing on my fingers. The people that fall into trouble with any of these are people that do not do what they're supposed to. There are people who seek more out on the side, right? So the doctor gives you a little and you're buying a little on the street or you're doing whatever. If you're doing this and you're doing it the way that you're supposed to be doing it, this is going to dramatically help you work through your PTSD stuff. And it's not going to have any negative repercussions. You do not need to be nervous about this. In fact, the more you get excited about this versus nervous, the better off you're going to be. And the reason is because, very often you hear people talk about these drugs that have dissociative properties, right? Like mushrooms, acid, any of the drugs, ayahuasca, like the really extreme, versions of this stuff, DMT, but the stuff that makes it to where it's a little bit difficult to tell between reality and fantasy. Those drugs are more often than not called tripping, right? They're tripping drugs. And the reason for that should be pretty obvious even to people that are not initiated into the whole drug thing, right? You are taking a trip, right, away from the norm, from reality. And really, right, in theory, if you go back to the people that were doing this way back in the day, right, it was the trip away from the ego, right? It was the trip away from self. And this had a lot of potential to do an awful lot of good in this, right? This connection stuff, this my brain doesn't work the way I want stuff, this I'm suffering because of something that I saw stuff, or something that was done to me, or something that wasn't done to me, right? As a treatment for PTSD, L.S.D, there was so much potential for what this was doing. And in the 60s, and I don't mean Woodstock, right? I mean, early in the 60s, there was some really phenomenal stuff being done, research being done. And then that drug got hijacked. And if you want my personal opinion, it got hijacked by a 3-letter government agency. I'm not woofing you. They saw this stuff as a potential weapon. And they started to use it, and they started to do some really creepy stuff with it, right? AKA, bring in the Manson stuff and all kinds of other stuff, right? You start following that thread. And we had a 3-letter agency doing some really funky stuff with L.S.D. But prior to that, prior to the tune in, drop out, there was some medical research being done with this stuff that was showing some real promise. And then unfortunately, this crap got demonized real quickly. Art Linkletter. You guys remember who Art Linkletter is? There's going to be somebody that's old enough. Oh, Elizabeth, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. And I'm gonna do a Elizabeth, I hope you're having a good day. That way you won't have to put up with typing. Right? We'll just throw one out to you every once in a while. Let you know that we're still thinking of you. All right, Elizabeth, please. But really, I am happy that you're here. Truthfully, I am. I am very, very happy that you're here, and I'm happy that you're finding some connection here. So this LSD stuff got villainized something vicious. once it was in the drug scene, and a guy named Art Linkletter. And if you're old enough, you will remember Art Linkletter. But Art Linkletter's daughter, pretty famously, oh, good to see you, KJ. Glad that you're here. It was an honor. Uh, I remember Art. Didn't he have a child that died on an LSD trip? Yes, he did. He had a daughter that stepped out of a window while tripping on LSD. Oddly enough, I have a friend, my best friend from high school, who fell out of a window while tripping. Still alive, but pretty severely damaged physically from it. He's in a wheelchair for life. Here's the insane thing. Art Linkletter's daughter did not step out of a window because she was on LSD. It was just a really great opportunity for him to deflect something that really happened and to villainize a drug that got so much bad press at a time that it didn't need bad press. And I'm not here to advocate dropping acid, nor am I here to advocate, right, anything along those lines. I'm just here to say that when you start lying to get something done, it's never a good thing. Now, apparently, his daughter left a note, not something that people who fall out of windows on LSD do very often, right? And apparently the note said something about him not being the greatest father either. I'm not being crappy. There's just a lot out there about this. And there was a time when our government would take any opportunity that it possibly could to really villainize drugs. And it did a hell of a job. So from the 60s or from the very early 1970s until just recently, there has been nothing, right? Now, a group of guys, and I wish I had their names in front of me, but I've done a show on this in the past. That a great group of people who have been fighting on the front line for the research on all of these, on all hallucinogens and things like this, as a way to expand the mind and as a way to help people, right? In theory, folks, in theory, that's what drugs are supposed to do. They don't, because we use these things in pretty funky ways. But drugs, in theory, are supposed to make your life better. There is some research being done right now on how to properly use some of these drugs. You do not need to worry about ketamine therapy. Please do not be terrified of this. Yeah, Cindy Plumley, that was the story. That was the story. It is definitely the one that was told. She thought she could fly, which is pretty funny, right? Because most people who think they can fly on acid probably don't yell that out the window to somebody on the way down. But that's the story that's been told forever, was she thought she could fly. It's not what happened. But it sure villainized that whole thing. This is it's funny that you say this. Cup of Coffee says, I always think of the very beginning of Pineapple Express when they're watching the dude that gets high and then he gets on the phone and yells, illegal. It's really it's a pretty good, it's funny, but it's not. It's like the government telling the public, if you use LSD once, you'll have a deformed baby. My grown son is fine. Good, excellent, Debbie P. I'm glad to hear that. I've been very fortunate that, that most of the propaganda that they put out about it was complete and utter BS. And it's they've said a lot of other stuff that's just this is the why when I talk about talking to your kids about drugs, don't lie to them. First piece of advice, don't lie to them. When they find out you lied to them, the game's over. The game's over. I did a marketing campaign for Pineapple Express. That was a good summer. I bet it was. That's why, you know what? That's why whenever someone says they're a lurker, I always want to go, he's a lurker, like a lingerer. You know what I mean? I saw that movie. That's one of the, I could still see movies then, and I was still watching. Electric Avenue at the beginning of Pineapple Express. Electric Avenue. Where's Johnny Scoville when I need him? We met the guy that sang that song. True story. Kirsten Iverson, have you seen the treatment that Jamie Mustard talks about for for PTSI or PTSD? I know, I know exactly what you're talking about. Yes, I do. It's something that a couple of people have asked me why I have not talked about here on the boat before. The reason that I have not is because I would really like to do that with him here. Number one, I do not want to do that any disjustice or any inservice or injustice or disservice. And I'd be honored to have him on here. So that's what I'm working toward. But yes, I'm very, very familiar with what you're talking about. It's fascinating. Very, very fascinating. Yeah, we ran into him in Bermuda over a holiday that we were staying there. And the really cool thing too was that song was fairly popular at the time. It was maybe within a year or two of that song coming out. So he was a big deal. Oh, very cool. There's my there you go. Then you know what to do, Tampa Bay. Make it happen. He is a smart guy, to be sure. He is a very, very smart guy. So, Tommy, question. If a film now is shot on film, not digital, could you still watch it, or is there a difference between film, say, before the 2000s and now? Here's what it comes down to. If you watch the very first things that ever came on television, right, or the very first things that were ever filmed in film, it was shot with one camera, right? Now, they would tear down a scene, right? And they would move the camera and then they would do it. So if there were two people talking, they would film the two people talking, right? Then as we progressed through cinema, they would film my face while I was talking and then your face while you were talking, right? Then a back shot of the two of us standing together and talking, and then they would go back and forth. And they put all this together so that if you watch, say, 40 seconds of film, how many times did they reset up the camera and shoot during that 40 seconds? If the answer to that is a really high number, I can't watch it. We reassemble all of those images that come at us this quick. We reassemble all of them in our brain, and it goes into something that we understand. If we were to have tried that brand new from the start, but we evolved over time. And as kids, we watch this stuff. But as I got, the head injury stuff, when I watch that, as my brain reassembles all of the stuff, I start to get a driving pain behind my right eye. And then as soon as it happens, once the right eye starts, it's all over. Your dad lived in Bermuda as a kid, Air Force brat. Boy, oh boy, I could have a conversation with your dad. We've spent a lot of time there. The Scovilles have a lot of history on that island. I promise you, a lot. We did a lot there. But yeah, that's the story with that. So I can watch a movie that's made today if it's not like if action films, forget it, right? Because action films, that's the stuff that's edited together really, really quickly. The next time you watch a movie, when you see the person talking or you see the car driving, the opening scene, start counting, right? How many seconds do you get before the next thing you're looking at? The obvious change from one clip to the next. And then start doing that. In order for me to be able to watch one, those numbers have to be like 6 or 7 seconds, 8 seconds of clip. The best possible case scenario is for me to watch a one camera. So I watch YouTube, right? The whole time we've been doing this, the camera hasn't moved, right? So I can watch hours of stuff that makes me smarter, right? I just can't watch things that are, even my brother's freaking reality show, man. I was so fired up to watch that. I was super fired up to watch that, but I anticipated it being a little bit less professional, maybe, or less. I don't know. I don't remember reality shows being shot like that, but I guess it's because the burn and all that. You know what I mean? They really want to highlight just how bad this stuff hurts. But right from the very opening credits, it's really been going. Oh my God, yes. Carl Steinbeck. Nice. Your ASMR voice. Nice. But everyone does have one. I really believe that. Uh, my elbow demon. I don't think that anything, yeah. I have sprained so many things that took an eternity to heal or never did. I'd much rather, I've said it many times, I'd rather break things. Set that puppy and let me get back to doing what I was doing. My weird cat is trying to climb the wall. What you doing, kitty? Uh, that's what I thought. See, a little later in the day, she is really, really talking. A film historian, Manelli, created the moving tracks for filming. And boy, oh boy, did he do us a service. For real. Things got a whole lot better. One of the greatest track layouts ever is when, if you ever see Psycho, when the first time they go into that house, right? And Norman Bates, he goes behind the hotel and he goes up to the house and he starts walking up the stairway and he goes all the way up. From the time they open the door, everything, it's one cut. The camera never, Hitchcock had a way of using one camera that would scare the crap out of you. I'm telling you, that it can be done so effectively. I think this new way is lazy, if you really want to know the truth. I think it's lazy. It requires less forethought. It requires, set up 65 cameras, right? Shoot this thing from 160 angles and then we'll figure something out when it's over. I think that sucks. I'm sorry, I do. I love the idea of, what's the perfect shot? You see a guy doing this number right here. It's like, got that thing around his neck. Hola, D. Good to see you. Cats see things we can't, like tiny little bugs. Yes, and evil people that shouldn't be in my house. Right? I'm telling you, cats have a way of cats have got a way of absolutely messing you up. Does flipping of a computer screen that you can't see with the naked eye bother you? These glasses and the other ones that I wear are the blue. This is supposed to combat all of that stuff. Kate Ortiz, I think they see spirits and I think that they see people that aren't good people. I think that they honestly can catch a glimpse of people that are just plain sort of rotten. See, like Johnny Scoville's walking around. We'll see how Squirrel reacts. I'm kidding. No, but not really. Anthony, I'm not going to answer your question. And I'll tell you why. Because when this lifeboat is over, you and I are getting on a phone call anyway. I was given your phone number this morning. What are you looking at, Cat? Uh-oh. Squirrel's getting ready to attack Johnny, I think. So I got that this morning. I was dropping my boy off for his union gig. But you can ask me a couple of questions here in a few minutes. Unless you really want me to answer one for the entire crew, in which case, there goes the cat. What? You see that, people? And they say she isn't around. Wait a second. So good to have you here, Reese. Jen Marie, you can edit? You can edit? You know this is wizardry, don't you? You know that that's wizardry. Why have you never told me that you could edit? Reese, did you know that she could edit? Were you aware of this? It's the chin rope. You know what? Maybe the cat's going after the chin rope. That could make sense. I cannot believe this. You can. That's the spirit. There's a lot of truth to that too. Check it out. Ready? Hold on. Which side is it? There's one side I don't like very much. There you go. So this is the good side. See, both of my screw ups are on one side. I got a big scar on the side of my beak, right? Runs down the side of my nose, like right about here. And then I got another thing here on the side of my face that I picked up at the exact same time, oddly enough. That you think Reese's answer is the best? It's a pretty good one. I need so much help with some editing. So you're going to be really bummed out that you told me that. You love my beak? Nobody loves my beak. No one sees that scar but cats. That is a really funny comment, Tampa B. In light of our last things. Wait a second. Beanie Babies are still a thing? Is that over your shoulder? Is that no? Neither of them. Neither of those are Beanie Babies. Neither of those are Beanie Babies. But since you asked, hold on. So what we have here is no. What we have here is a stuffed moose that, oddly enough, see, this moose actually has a smaller stuffed moose that it usually is hugging. And it has, or maybe that's the other one. No, that is the other one. I have thousands and thousands of mooses. There's stuffed mooses everywhere. In fact, look, here's another one. We have stuffed mooses everywhere. Long story. But my dad was the moose. So this one's good because of the weight. It sits on the liquor cabinet. And this came in from Alan Valentine. This is what, and you'll notice this one is holding a smaller bear, a koala. So it's the two piece. And I do have one of these that does the exact same thing, the two piece, but they're not Beanie Babies. But yeah, they're still alive. You know the funniest thing about Beanie Babies, people? Truthfully, the funniest thing about Beanie Babies? Apparently, there's a gazillion of every single one of them. Like literally a gazillion of every single one of them. Is it hard to work on watches with giant paws? It is. It is absolutely difficult. No, it's not. The tools themselves are what you put into the watch, right? So while the tip of the screwdriver is really minuscule and small, the end of it's not, right? So it's not like I have to get my big, huge hands inside that little watch. That would really be a problem, but I do not have to. Your nickname is Moose. I carried that nickname for quite a long time myself. Calhoun, get back to work before you get fired. What are you doing? I know him. Get back to work before you get fired. I will tell on you so fast. Paddles. You're right. I'm sorry. Paddles. I don't know who said it yesterday. You can take credit if you're the one that said this because it's in a comment. But Tommy Paddles. I have a couple of Italian friends that would laugh so hard if they could hear that. Oh, you're on a break. Okay. Then in that case, I apologize, Calhoun. I'm glad that you're here. Long tweezers, a lot of long tweezers. Absolutely. A lot of really, really, really expensive, really, really long tweezers. And the headgear, the thing that you got to wear is you get very good at looking at things that are really, really small. Sadly, you don't do it with both eyes. It's almost impossible. Even if you got one of the really great setups where it all comes down into one. Hey, there's Hef. Even if it comes into one, so I just end up using a one side loop, and it's definitely messed up my sight. But that's all right. Fixed a lot of watches. I'm working on the most complicated watch I've ever worked on in my life right now, and I'm doing it for David Foy, my one of my brother's partners. No pressure. It's a friend and family watch, and there are like 300 and some odd moving parts to this thing. Not parts, moving parts. This is a very, very complicated watch. It does everything you could ever want a watch to do, including your income tax. Ah, that's a very kind thing to say, Anthony Powell. I really, really appreciate that. Means a lot to me, man. It really does, and I'm going to get better at this. You know why? Because if I'm bringing back the compliment, then I'm going to learn to take them. Ooh, do you know what? Come here, squirrel. She has a fat tail. She's angry at some animal right now, and her tail's this big. If I can get her over here, you'll get a big laugh out of this. Come here, squirrel, Matt. Come here. Look, do you see the puppy tail? She's an unhappy kitty. She wants to kill something. When squirrel wants to kill something, her tail puffs up. Ah, there you go. Just take over the show. Her tail looks like a raccoon's. And you've seen how cats puff up, right? Puffy squirrel tail. It's exactly what it is. But when she puffs up, it is the funniest thing in the entire world. I mean, truthfully, it's because I've watched cats do this forever, right? But I've never watched a cat do it just with a tail. She doesn't puff out her body or anything else. Just her tail goes like this. So we call it the poofy tail. That's the squirrel tail. You call those trails? You know the term, the fur is flying? You know, boy, they were mad. Fur was flying, right? It's part of our, it's a colloquialism that we all are familiar with, yeah? Okay. Do you know that has nothing to do with the fighting? If you slow down a cat fight, if you slow down a cat fight into super slow motion video, I watched this the other day, the fur begins to jettison out before the cats even start swinging. It's really bizarre. It's just, you call those tail feathers feather dusters? I like that. Zoomy tail, also very good, Lisa Bean. I've never heard zoomy tail. I like that. But I dig it. But the fur flying, it's absolutely worth like Googling it and watching it in slow-mo. They are not. It's not. I always assumed that the cats were tearing each other up so much that much fur was, that they just pulled it out of each other and all that. Got nothing to do with that. Taekwondo. Thoughts and prayers. Unfortunately, I see cat fights if one of my cats gets a hold of the matriarch kitty. Oh, yeah, that's always a bummer. That is always a bummer. But you know something? The interplay between animals is fantastic. It's just a matter of time before I get another kitty here. Thank you so much. I want to really appreciate you. Thank you. Ouch, that's better. Thomas theme song is all I want to do is a zoom, 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 and a zoom. Okay, all righty. You know what? I want a squirrel needs a friend. Squirrel really needs a friend, but that friend is going to have to be my bog dog. Chester loves kitties. You know what? Squirrel could absolutely kick it with a dog. She had no issues whatsoever kicking it with a dog in when we lived in Nevada. I used to house sit for. And I talked to somebody about Georgie yesterday. We spoke to Georgie's owner, and she's 10 now. She was on the show. If you go back and look at some of the old ones, you can see episodes that Georgie was on. I used to say, my friend Georgie is spending the night here. Yeah, the golden retriever. Yeah. But she's losing her sight a little bit. She's just getting on to it. And I saw her muzzle's all white. Just happens to all of us, People should get old and pass away. Animals should not. I think everybody should be issued 2 pets. You get to pick them, and They will outlive you by, say, 15 or 20 years, so that your loved ones have a little something to help them deal with you leaving. You have a black cat, sweet. I love dogs. I really do. I love dogs. I always have. But make no mistake, this is a cat channel. It is. It just is. Binks. You know what? I dated a girl that had a cat named Binks, and hers was a male as well. How odd. Oh, wouldn't it be lovely to aging backwards would be nice. I think I could live with that. Although what might be nice is if I'm allowed to get to say 70 and then start aging backwards, right? That might be fun. Black cats are special. I agree with that. Oh, I've fallen in love with a stray ginger cat. I've called her Penny. Maxine, my friend, Lady Fiona Crispin, an Aussie, that really helped build the lifeboat. Just one of the great wrenches. She's a mod here. She's got she's like me. She's just got the health trouble of the month kind of thing, unfortunately. But she is always at any given time saving an outdoor cat. And they're everywhere in Australia, and she's always got one she's saving, and she has in the time that I've known her saved so many, and the stories were so unbelievable. I mean, it was just there was a cat that in order for them to save, right? This cat got gender reassignment surgery. I'm not even being funny. The way that they were able to save this cat was it had such a horrendous bladder infection that for all intents and purposes, they did a gender reassignment surgery on this cat. But the cat's alive and happy, and Fiona wins another one. She has saved so many cats in that damn country, you wouldn't believe it. Very proud of her. Female orange tabbies are very rare. True story. Special cat. Very, very cool. You know what, Deirdre? There's something about unconditional love that just feels a whole lot nicer than anything else, doesn't it? You know, I used to joke about this with my ex-wife. My Cause, my dog, used to get very, 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 very excited when I would come home. He would freak out. And he did not do that when she would come home. And I said, that's because I play with the dog all the time. You know what I mean? Like I go outside and that dog looks at me like, ooh, play. He looks at you like, she came home. You know what I mean? It was kind of a different thing, but she sort of got this, I don't know. I think she was a little bummed out about the bonding between me and the dog. But uh, that unconditional love, I would say to her, you don't achieve that in life. People say, well, the way you love your kids, it's true. I mean, that's an unconditional love. It is. But if you were to put, your kid and your cat or your dog in a closet for 4 hours, you open that closet door, the kid's going to be bummed out, right? Or put your dad in the closet for 4 hours, open that door, he's going to be really angry. That dog's just happy to see you every single time, no matter what. I come home 5 days off the road and squirrel dances on sunshine. If I do that to a woman of any other kind, right, other than a furry kind, they're not going to talk to me for 2 weeks. They're going to be very unhappy with me. They're going to yell at me for leaving. Not Reese. Anybody else. Reese would be see then I got an easy out there because Reese is way over there and I'm here. Henny, please have a great day and be safe. You're listening with no glasses on. All right. I do like furry women. Jen Marie. Oh, you're funny. Do you know what? I find this so funny when people say, my daughter fostered a dog that became a foster fail. Foster fail happens so often that it should be called foster success. right? Like I think that we're all in on this foster thing. Like, oh, I'm going to foster a kitty. No, you're adopting a kitty. We should just stop with the BS and say we're adopting it. I love it's one of the funniest things ever, isn't it? I think that is so, so funny. Not right, says Tommy Bird. Animals do have unconditional acceptance, to be sure. They are they love us in a way that that we need a little more of from human to human. It's I think we could learn a lot from them. We really could, you know, like napping a little more during the day, probably a good thing, right? Yeah, you know what, Davey? Don't you can't yell at anybody but me for that. What I said was I have no problem at all with that. Here's what you got to understand, people. Uh, where's my brother to yell? Here's what you got to understand. I am of a very odd generation that saw the change go from yes, there used to be fur to no, there will never be any fur. Now, if you were there for that change, it was an uncomfortable change. It really was. Bummed me out. I'll be really honest with you. So I just let people be people, and if they what's that? Yeah, just if they want it, I say great, let it roll. Never gonna bum me out. My dad's yellow lab flunked bird dog school. She wouldn't go into the water until she went to live with my dad. Nice. That's awesome. That's awesome. Just needed the right owner. You have a black cat with gold eyes named Ebony. That just sounds cool. All right, Kristen, drop the microphone. We're done. Nobody needs to say any more than that. There you go. The none at all is kind of weird. I mean, just mow the lawn. You don't have to scalp it. Can we drop a microphone on that, Johnny Scolo? Johnny, drop the microphone. Johnny, drop the mic. Kristen Melinda spikes the football, drops the microphone. And declares that this shall be my proudest mic drop of all time. I cannot say I blame you. I wish I had said it. I wish I had said it. That I'm a little jealous. I'd be lying to you if I told you otherwise. Okay, people, I am going to be working on Sean Puffy Combs. Yeah, guy's a dirtbag. Now, you know what I'm going to start doing more often every single day? Because it had a massive effect when I was on the road. For real. Do you know how many of you watch me that don't subscribe to me? What is it, my breath? For real. 52% of the people that watch me don't hit subscribe. So if you're one of those and you just, you show up every day and you watch me, but you don't hit subscribe, or maybe you got unsubscribed and you don't know, hit subscribe. And guess what? Well, theoretically, I go live at the 5s, but this thing's growing. It's getting bigger and it's getting gnarlier, right? And like it or not, I'm getting more well-known and my brother's downright famous, which is making all of this just a little bit tougher to predict. So why don't you hit that bell for notification? That way, if I don't go exactly at the time I normally do, you still know about it. You know what? I put up a lot of content. I do. I put up a lot of content. And I'm going to be putting up more of it because a lot of you are getting the memo that this connection thing, you say, well, you know what? I'm never going to be as big as the Lifeboat. Do you think the Lifeboat said, hey, we're going to do 20,000 subscribers in this? We said, we're looking for 6. That's all we were hoping for, man, right? 6 was enough. That was connection. You got something that you feel like you got inside that you need to say. If you say it to 6 people, I promise you, you're changing somebody's life. Those 6 people need to connect as much as you need to say it. So hit the damn record button. And then you know what? We can all pass it around from one to another. For real. It's a beautiful thing. Somebody left a comment the other day, and they were talking about leaving a community, right? Doesn't matter what the community they're leaving is, but it was a YouTube community. they said that the connection parts of what's going on YouTube is really starting to change them. Right? It's really starting to change them. This connection thing is real. Right? It really is. I heard that YouTube will notify up to 3 a day. That's true if you go more than 3. Sometimes if you go more than 2, you don't even get it. But I'll tell you what, do sign that up. And if I go more than 3 in a day, I promise I'll tell you when the other one's going to be. Can you have morning lives at this time? You do not like being in the replay crew. If the vast majority of people wanted it at this time, I would do that. I would do that. I've never, ever been one to dictate what this boat does. You do realize that would allow me to sleep in a little later, things like that. One of the reasons that we do what we do is because of the East Coast. Good point. Izzy E says, get on Discord and get all the alerts. That girl is. Thank you. Right? Dennis from Boston says, I keep getting unsubscribed. Thank you, Dennis, for saying that, because I think some people think I'm kidding, but it is happening a lot. Jen Marie, you're right. We should do a poll on it. Maybe we will get that done. Jessica Cat seems to think this is a good time. Maxine seems to think it's a good time. There's a lot of people that seem to think this is a good time. We're going to have in-person meetings for lots of hugs. It's going to happen. We're putting this together right now. I'm not playing with you. I'm not playing with you. We're putting this together right now. Do you know what? Let me tell you something about the Lifeboat and its 20,100 subscribers, right? Reese has 20,100 subscribers. She did it in 5 months, 6 months, something like that, right? Took me, I'm into the 4th year. This is the, right? So I've done 3 years. The 4th will be coming up, right? So we've been doing this a hot minute. There's 1,500 some odd videos out there. And we did the vast majority of those videos for about 15 people in the live feed. Yep. That was our average live was about 15 people. And you know how much fun it was? I mean, for real. You could go like this and talk to everybody. It was great. It really was. I mean, it was the same show. It was just, if there was only 6 of you, I could say that again. I'm sorry, Brazy, what did you say? We could just riff off each other and talk to each other. It was a lot of fun. Don't be in a hurry to get to. I mean, I know everybody wants to get to 100,000. You know, I do. But I'll tell you something, man. I no lie do miss the days when when it was just 4 or 5 of us. It really was a lot of fun. Tiffany says, I get unsubscribed from the Lifeboat 3 times every day, and it's only the Lifeboat. You know what? I've heard other people say that too, that it only happens here, but to them in particular. So, but I think Tommy Bird sums it up when he says, the Lifeboat is the shiznit. I'm sorry, it really is. No apologies. There you go. Jen Marie says, I'm just excited. I'm over 100 subs. That's what I'm talking about. You realize the average YouTuber will never get 100 views, much less 100 subs? That's the truth. The average YouTuber will never do a video that 100 people see. Look that up. We look at people like Reese or Aaron and we go, ooh, yeah. Let me tell you, it's a long and an arduous road. And if you're doing it to get rich, buy a lottery ticket. Honest to God, you got just as good a chance. But if you're doing it because there's something you have to say, you won the lottery. You did, because this is a place that will let you say what you want to say. Now, I hope what you have to say is going to make this place a nicer place, right? This ball that we're standing on. There are a lot of people out there that put out content that seems to try to make the earth a little crappier. Now, I know that's not you. It's not the Lifeboat crew. But you know what? We are the counterbalance to all of those idiots. There's one name I could drop right now, right? um, of a creator that you know exactly who I'm talking about because he went after a lot of us, right? But you know something, people? When all that was, I just kept saying to everybody, listen, people like that bother you, don't give them a view, right? Guess what? That chump's dying. I don't watch it. I don't watch any of the people that make trash about me. I just go watch their social blade scores. I just go watch their views fall off a cliff. I watch their numbers of subscribers drop. And you know what it's telling me, people? Huh? It's telling me that there are asses in this world and there are asses on the big red button. And I guess what? If I had to guess, I'd say less than 10%, which means that the vast majority of us out here are like, honest to God, we're like us. Like us, as in, I don't give a crap what color your skin is. I can't see. Don't care. Don't care. Don't care who you're sleeping with. It's got nothing to do with me. Don't care. Right? Really common sense kind of stuff. Like if your freedoms, as long as they don't end up on my doorstep, kicking my door in, I don't care what your freedoms are. Enjoy them. When your freedom starts telling me what I have to do, it's no longer freedom. Right? Pretty basic stuff. But I think we all almost agree with this. Deirdre Nelson, glad you're here. Lumen, glad you're here. Flamin' Jackson, I love you. Tampa B, I love you too. Seventh Son, good to see you. B. Hendricks, glad you're here. Kate Ortiz, Jen Marie, who can edit. Lisa Beam, always an honor. Lord Kiss Freak sent me a really funny video. When Spanky's not working, we'll probably let everybody see it. It's pretty funny stuff. It's actually of me. I viewed one, let me see. Guess what? Do not fear, because that membership is going to go away, right? Yeah, that don't worry, he's good. That's the that would be the gentleman I was referring to, and the number of views he gets per day. I belch that often daily now. Unfortunately, it's an age thing, but you know what? Hate doesn't sell. It'll get people to show up. It really will. Oh, we're all guilty of it. Somebody starts yelling something foul, and we turn and we watch because we can't not. But you know what? We wouldn't come back the next day. Doesn't make you a bad person for watching. Doesn't, right? You hear somebody say something that's just vile or somebody you care about or whatever, you hear that, you're like, whoa, what? But if you go back to watch the next one, what does that say about you? Did you see Birdman in Burlington, Vermont passed away? No, I did not. What's going on nationwide? What did I miss? Tammy, it's a he is vile. He is vile. Mary Jones says, I will be on My Other's Keeper tonight with my daughter. People, you do not want to miss that. Yeah, the gifted membership is for 1 month, and then that will go away. And I'm sorry, I know it would be fun to say, Kate, but I have a rule about saying the names of dirtbag creators. I never do it because it's what they want more than anything in life. They want the person who they throw crap at to say their name out loud. It's their paycheck. They're never going to be successful. They're never going to do any of those things. But if they could just get maybe their name mentioned, oh, I'm not giving them that paycheck. Oh, FB is down. My goodness, good to know. Good to know. Facebook is down. It's, you know what? Third time since I've been on the big red button that's happened. Years ago, I heard a great quote. 2 very simple words. Be nice. I try to remember that, but it's not always easy for me to remember. You know something? I agree. And it would be a much better world if we could all just kind of maybe be nice. But it's hard. And I know it is. I know it's hard. Oh, by the way, I'm just going to say this. Of the 52% of you who watch that do not hit subscribe, all of you, right? All of you would hit subscribe if I wasn't a bank robber and a guy. For real. And I say that because you guys watch me on every other channel I go to. So go ahead and hit subscribe. Be kind. You come back and watch, may as well give me the sub. Solar storms. Yeah, solar storms are going on. And I'm going to be talking to my local expert space weather authority, my other captain, Mr. Mark Wages, and I may have more info. It's down in the UK too, so that sounds like worldwide to me. Hi, I'm with you on being in awe of those who can edit. I have up even signing in. Well, yeah, I can't sign in either. I can't sign in. I'm not able to do any of those things. Number one, I'm a lurker and I'm subscribed. Woohoo! T-Frog, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. I really do. You know what? We're building this thing, people. We're building this thing. You know what I want? I want this to be the most copied channel in the history of YouTube. That's what I want. I don't want to be the biggest channel in YouTube history, but boy, would I like to be the most copied. That would be awesome. It would be really, really awesome. The cat, get over here. Seriously, I'm getting ready to wrap this up. Come here. You're a good kitty. Oh, she's just giving me that. So now what you got to do is this. Fine, I don't care. Stay over there. Didn't even really want to talk to her anyway. If I take this tone, I start talking like that, normally she comes over. And that's kind of awful, but you're already starting to be copied. Not going to mention any names. You know what? I hope we are. I hope we're already being copied. That's what's supposed to happen, right? Because what we're talking about is connection, which I promise I didn't invent. But do you know what? Boy, oh boy, am I going to be I'm going to be pushing it. I'm going to be pushing it. And I guarantee you're going to start seeing a lot of other people pushing it. You are. People are seeing it. You know what, Kelly B? What you're doing, hon, you're not copying me. What you're doing is so beautiful and so unique. I love it. And if that's a copy, I will take it. Please. More. Kate Ortiz, it's nice here. And it is because of all of you. True story. Because of all of you. And you know what, Valerie? You know something? Last night was fun on SDS. It really was. And one of the reasons that it was so much fun was because of all of you. Bridget Alexander, subbed lurker, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. B. Hendricks says, I am an admirer of this style. So am I. So am I. That's why I do this, right? That's why I do this. Tammy is a lurker right now. That's why I do this. Because I'm a fan of this, right? If I'm not doing this, I'm watching this. I watch Rabbit, right? I love watching creators who create. I really do. Now, there's certain things I kind of get hosed out of. If you don't have a really good gimbal, it's an awful lot like bad editing to my brain, right? If you don't have a decent gimbal, it's kind of hard. I hold a really steady camera and it still sucks. Like I can't watch my own stuff. Terry, good to see you. Glad that you're here. Really appreciate you. Guess what, folks? I think that pretty much brings us to the top of the hour. VT Kitten says, love Rabbit. I do too. And Rabbit is good at what she does. I listen when I'm working or replay crew. Fancy Nancy, would you catch more lives if they were at this time of the day? We're doing a little early morning interview. Jen, I watched part of your interview. Part of your field trip from the weekend. And yeah. It was a little, yeah, and I guarantee you, no one else is going to bum out. But it's like people who watch the there's a lot of genres where people are outside with cameras running around. I really love watching the predators get caught, but nobody has a decent gimbal, and you end up like I miss all of the stuff until when they get to the part where finally they can get their stuff locked into place. That's the only time that works. Yes. Oh, see, how's that? Oh, I knew you'd show up. I knew you'd show up, especially if I ignored you, because that's how cats are. What do you say? You want to say goodbye? We'll let everybody hear you purr. All right, people. I think that pretty much brings us to the top of the hour, maybe a little bit late. It does seem like people are preferring this time slot. I'm going to do a little bit more research, but maybe we'll do this. Maybe we'll do it a little later in the day. It's about the same size crowd today as we get in the early morning. We've been doing right around 200. So, but if people didn't know about it either, so it might be a little bit different if people knew what was coming, right? So, Fancy Nancy, I appreciate that. She says, "You do you." But what I want to do is the most that could have sounded really bad. What I would like to do is make more of you happy. Right? I would like to make the most number of people on this boat pleased as possible. The more of you that we can get in the chat, the more fun it is, right? The more people we can get in the chat at any given time, the more fun it is. So we want to try to figure out exactly what time I pick that's going to give people the best opportunity at looking at it. Simone's girl, who gives really good gifts, by the way, says, "I am very impressed with the warden from last night's Surviving the Survivor." Me too. And he was really kind off the air as well. Just a really, really nice guy. I would be absolutely shocked if you do not see that exact same panel. Yes, that's what I'm going to do, Kristen, is a community poll. I think you would be absolutely, I'll be blown away if that panel isn't put back together exactly the way that it was, and we don't do another show just like it. I think that that's probably a lock. All right, people. Jen Miller, good to see you. I am Captain Tommy Scoville. You are on the Lifeboat. We'll see you on the next one, people. Bye-bye.